page 130, I Hate You, Don't Leave Me, Handling Impulsivity. We're talking about this man and his marriage and how, but within this tightly regimented routine, Larry would impulsively get drunk, pick fights, or roughly leave town for an entire day without warning. On 2 occasions, he impulsively overdosed on his heart medicine to see what it felt like. Usually, he would absorb Phyllis's anger by turning somber and quiet, but every so often he would strike out at her, frequently over trivial matters. He would remain dry for several months, and then, just as he was receiving praise for abstaining, he would get impulsively and loudly drunk. His wife, friends, and counselors pleaded and threatened, but to no avail. That reminds me of a similar experience I had with my ex, who was also diagnosed BPD. And I talk about it in a past video about basically realizing that after so long of treating my own BPD and learning how to use DBT therapy, and then being in a relationship with someone with the same diagnosis, but not the same amount of treatment or length of time to rewire the brain, I think it's important to mention that BPD, it's not really cured with medication. It can treat the symptoms of BPD, like maybe anxiousness or depression, but at the end of the day, you have these reactions, and it's our job to learn how to rewire our brain to respond differently after being exposed to trauma. Long past the point that trauma is no longer happening, we then have to rewire our brain to be different. And like really, that takes a lot of time. And I found myself again and again really in relationships with other people who had similar diagnoses, and it became frustrating for me to continue being involved because I would see them relapse in their mental health, and I'm also trying not to relapse in my own mental health and progress. And so if I'm around someone that heavily triggers that, then I lose people, because I'm not going to go back in my recovery or become the person I used to be just because someone else is not the person that they are going to become yet. Like, I also believe in people. I saw my ex as this person who with all this potential, but after so long, if the only thing I'm believing on and standing on in the relationship is the potential of what they could become, and I don't see them changing in the next 2 years because they haven't in the last 2, and meanwhile I'm now grown out of that person. And I got sober while living with an alcoholic. And that was hard, because he would still fight with me drunk and I'd have to be sober, but I knew that I could not be drunk around him because the fighting would have been even worse.